Hi, it's Don Thornton with the short sale guy, talking about debt. Why is debt bad? Why do we avoid debt? That's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about why it is how it is possible to build a portfolio and make a really very nice living as a real estate investor without bringing so much debt on yourself. And how to avoid the fool's gold idea that just because you may have properties and be over leveraged does not mean it's a good thing. Oftentimes means it's a bad thing. And at the end, I'll tell you about how you can build your portfolio the right way and by using cash instead of debt. But let's talk about the evils of debt first. So I guess I kind of outed myself as far as what I really believe about debt. Yes, I'm upfront with you. I don't like debt. Never liked it. I never ever borrowed money from a bank. I never got a mortgage to buy any property. I don't have any property. Any property I own is free and clear, and it will continue to be that way. Or, if I do ever have debt, I don't use my debt. So, if something happens, I'm not financially liable for it. So, but I want to talk to you a little bit about my background. I've been doing this for 18 years. You may or may not know that. I started in 2002, and I didn't really break through until towards the end of 2003 when I formed my own company. And of course, then I really hit it big in 2004 and 2005. But I tell you what, I learned a huge lesson back then. My broker, the one who did all the short sale listings for me for all my investing and both equity deals and short sale listings, I ran everything through his brokerage, and he was also a buy and hold guy, and he bought a number of my properties, and he always encouraged me to start buying real estate. And I always said, no, I didn't want that. And initially it was because I didn't want to be a landlord. But second of all, I was worried about, the fact that I didn't want to get caught in what I felt was a bubble. And I knew a bubble was coming. And I'll tell you why. I'm based in Central Florida in Orlando. There is a couple of neighborhoods, areas in the Orlando metropolitan area that have always been historically economically depressed. And so the normal, all things being considered, with what the rents are going for and so forth, those properties in general, these houses, small little 3.2s or 2.1s, should never cost more than $60,000-$70,000 max. In the end of 2005, they were going for like almost $200,000. And I mean, you put a property up for sale and boom, you had 25 offers in the first 10 minutes, and they were all highest and best, which meant it was a feeding frenzy. And I was selling properties that I thought to myself, 3 years ago, they were worth $60,000. Now they're almost 200. And I just said, I don't think that's sustainable. I mean, if you're going to buy a house, that kind of a house in that area for $195,000, I mean, and you're going to buy it with mortgage, they're buying them with mortgages. And I thought to myself, well, how in the world can you get a renter in there to make your payment and give you positive cash flow? Because who else no one except a limited minimum wage type or a little bit above minimum wage income is going to want to live in that area. And so, but bless his heart, my broker, he bought a bunch of properties from me. And I just said, I don't think you should do it, man. I don't think you should do it, man. And he did. And then, so what happened? In 2006, it started to hit in Central Florida. Now, the Great Recession, everybody seems to think it started in 2008 for the most part in the fall. But it was happening, we saw this stuff happening in the last quarter of 2005 is when it started to hit. I started seeing it. I started seeing everything slow down. And then 2006, you drive down the street and, most subdivisions and almost every single house had a for sale sign out there. And, it didn't hit critical mass until 2008, but it was already well on its way, and we were feeling it real estate wise in Central Florida in 2006 and 7. So we got a head start on on the country. So but what happened? My broker, he lost almost all of his houses to foreclosure because he could not put renters in. That, I mean, the property values dropped within a couple of years. His properties were 50, 60, $70,000 underwater, and it was, bless his heart, he got nailed, and he ended up losing a lot of properties. And I did not hold on to a single property. I kept my cash together, and so I was able to do extremely well. Also, I'm a short sale investor, so when the market turned, it was just like printing money for us. It was just so because we were one of the few out there that knew how to get real discounts. Most people, could go through the motions and do a short sale, but they're not going to, the banks don't give away their money unless you know how to get discounts. They're not going to just voluntarily give it to you. You have to earn it. And most people don't know how to do it, which we do. So anyway, I would say that, that taught me a huge lesson. I mean, I already knew the lesson beforehand, but it reinforced it. Let's put it that way. And I have never done anything but a cash deal. Okay. And so you think to yourself, well, why am I saying that? Because you can find the money. You can find cash to do every single one of your deals. You don't have to go, and you should not, in my opinion, you should not put your own name on the line or your own financial future on the line by getting mortgages. And I don't think you should, if you're going to hold something long term, then I think that you should, I'm not saying don't do any debt, but have a big cash or equity cushion so you can ride out the hard times. And so I want to talk to you about the reasons why you should avoid debt when you're a real estate investor. And I want to show one example. And we know that right now with COVID, what's going on is that the hospitality industry is really taking a hit because of travel being curtailed so much. And I want to bring an example here, Rosen Hotels and Resorts. The guy that owns this, he's an 81-year-old man. His name is Harris Rosen, and he's got, I don't know, 8 or 9 different properties in Central Florida. They're all near the parks, Disney and Universal. And he is famed for having no debt. So he owns his hotels free and clear. He's fanatical about that. And so, when the Great Recession hit, and a lot of people were, he was interviewed a number of times, and people were asking, why was he able to withstand the hit so much? He says, well, because we don't have any debt. We're not servicing debt. Therefore, we can retrench if we have to, and we have sometimes. We can cut costs. We can, do whatever needs to be done. But he was never in any danger of losing his properties, or having them go under, or filing a bankruptcy or whatever, because he didn't have any debt. Okay, so that's, and other ones out there having to go into Chapter 11 bankruptcy, having to do debt restructure and so forth, and he did not. And you look what's happening now with COVID-19, you can see how just, there's so many issues with with debt. I mean, let's look at Airbnb, for example. How many people out there specifically got properties and they've leveraged them with mortgages, and they were counting on Airbnb as their main mechanism of getting short-term rentals and getting cash flow to keep their mortgages paid. Well, what happened when an unexpected force majeure, act of God situation happened, like with COVID? The ones that were over leveraged are really hurting, and and in some ways the only thing that's keeping them without losing their properties because of the foreclosure moratorium. But I guarantee you're going to start seeing more of those types of houses going to go through the foreclosure thing, because that's what if you got a mortgage payment every month and you don't have the cash flow going to make that payment or cover expenses like for eviction, or I'm not talking about Airbnb evictions, but just evictions in general, if you're a buy and hold investor, then that's going to be tough. I'm not laughing at it. I'm just saying I am a very big believer in worst case scenario planning. Okay, so it's okay to be over leveraged if you have cash flow. But what happens if something in the economy happens, if it goes down and you can't rent like you can't used to, or you can't find renters, or they trash the place and you got to evict them and you got to spend thousands of dollars fixing the place up. I mean, who's making that mortgage payment for you when you don't have the rent coming in to pay it? Those kind of things really have always been a big worry for me, so I've avoided that. So I don't use hard money. Like I said, I use other people's money. And I encourage you to use other people's money. And I teach people how to use other people's money. I have never, ever used hard money. I've never used hard money or a mortgage or whatever, just because I never needed to, I never wanted to. And I never held anything long term. I've always been short term. Get it gone, move it, turn and burn. That's been my because I know how to get houses. I've been getting houses for 18 years. I know how to do it, and I teach my students how to get houses. And so that is why I hate debt. But I'm not going to go into great detail right now. But I'm going to tell you the secret. What's the secret to raising capital? What's the secret to raising capital and putting money away so where you can start, if not completely buying something with cash, but putting like 50% down, so that way you're relatively safe with a big equity cushion. So you can cash out if you need to, sell it quickly if you need to. Is short sales. Using short sales to raise capital for your longer term investments. That's the key. And if you're interested in knowing how to do that, I encourage you to reach out to me. Go to the description of this video. All my information will be there. And I can teach you for free how to use short sales to raise capital for your longer term investments. And hope to see you again. And thanks a lot for your interest.